much for being here. Goodness gracious, hope you're enjoying the food. I think I know most of you. My name is Dr. Minter, for anybody who's not met me. Welcome to our first fall in-person lecture and panel discussion.
Yeah.
So I literally created this event on the fly. It started, first and foremost, this event is to honor our instructors. We have 3 instructors on our panel today. We also have instructors in the audience. So if you teach for the prison education program, could you please stand up? I see you guys. I put you on the spot. Many of you in the audience, it takes a certain type of personality, I like to say, to say, yeah, I'm going to go teach in a prison. And we have a pretty good group, so I really wanted to get everybody together in one area to where we're not on a Zoom meeting, right? So we can meet each other in person. And then we started having a lot of interest in it, and I said, oh boy, well now we're going to need something to do. Oh, speak up, we have another instructor. Hi, Romina. Welcome. He's our art instructor. So we have, we're teaching English, Dr. Grace James, the legendary Dr. Grace James. Need we say more? Some of the more elaborate events that we have inside the women's prison is in great partnership with Dr. Grace James. We're very thankful for her. Dr. Leilani Shive, math instructor, CCST principal, Alicia Pettit, our first anthropology lab instructor. She's in there playing with the bones with the prison. The warden loves the bones. Right?
Yeah, I was told I can't deal with them.
And Miss Romina, where'd you go? Miss Romina, our first fine arts instructor. We're really interested to see the type of art that they're going to be producing out of your course. First we've ever done it. I hear it's going well. So yeah, what are they going to be doing with the papers, in the flat files, right, Sean? The flat file. What are we doing? Are they going to be able to keep them?
Yeah, they keep their own work. Their latest project, they just made their own sticker design. We just had them produced, and they're going to be returning back to the students, so they have actual stickers of their own designs.
Awesome, awesome. I'm hoping if they're willing to donate some of it, we would really love it. Absolutely. We're getting closer and closer to producing our first group of Associate of Arts degree completers, and or graduates, I should say, excuse me. And we wouldn't be able to do it without the work of our instructors, so we really appreciate that. Dr. Stacy Kutzstein decided to join us. Thank you so much, sir. It's an honor having you here. Dr. Flores Sakota, thank you. Everybody, last place, thank you everybody again so much for being here. So, when I realized that there were more people coming than I realized initially and planned, I thought we need something to do, and I thought of a panel because a lot of what people know about prisons is what they see on TV, right? And it's very different in there, so I had the idea to kind of have our instructors tell us themselves, as well as Warden Rubart there, Warden of Florence Women's Correctional Center, to give us a little insight of what it's like teaching for this program, so that we can kind of humanize it, create a face for it. So that's the purpose of our panel. And again, thank you so much for being here. We'll jump right into it. All right. Our first question is for the instructors, and you can answer in any order. You know, I'm sorry. Let me have them introduce themselves briefly.
Hi, I'm Spencer Dunwoody. I'm the HVAC instructor, or HVAC instructor.
I'm Dr. Tyler Dean. I teach composition and world literature.
I'm Christina Eberle, and I teach Introduction to Criminal Justice.
Will Rubart, I'm currently the warden at Florence McClure Women's Correctional Center. I also run the Gene Conservation Camp. For some of you who've been heading towards I-15 towards California, there's a small camp there. And I'm also responsible for Southern Nevada Correctional Center, which is my favorite facility because it's closed. So it's easy to manage. So that being said, nice to meet everybody.
Thanks, everyone. There's no particular order that we have to answer the questions in, which whatever mood strikes, please go for it. So you guys said a little bit about what you teach, but what made you actually want to teach for the prison education program?
I'll go first. I am a former parole and probation officer, like the warden.
Yep.
And in that capacity, I saw that when people come out of prison, if they have a good job, they are much more likely to succeed and not recidivate. So I want to be a part of giving them the skills, the education, the tools that they need to get out and get a good job and be a resource for all of us.
Yeah, I enjoy helping people, so, normally I help people make the problem get worse, but I can't think of a better way to help people than to teach a skill that can help them become more successful at life, and especially helping people get a second chance, so I'm doing it selfishly to make myself feel like I help people.
I think I wanted to teach because I like to say it gave me access, or gives me access to minds. I don't know if the flyer says it. I'm a formerly incarcerated person, and some of the most brilliant minds I know are incarcerated. I'm not saying all, but a number of them, are brilliant, and I go in there to have that engagement. That's why, and the rest is a byproduct.
Thank you. Also for the instructors, what have you noticed are some of the differences and similarities between teaching students on campus and teaching students in a prison?
I love my students at the prisons. They are so dedicated to learning. They are all genuinely appreciative that they're being given the opportunity to take these classes. I mean, genuinely appreciative. They're great students. As an instructor, they are easy students because they show up unless they're sick. They do their homework, they study for their tests. They are very engaged. There's a lot of engagement back and forth. They love having, I think, somewhere to go that gets them out of kind of the echo chamber of being in the negativity of the prison environment. So they're wonderful students, and they get good grades. I love being around them. They're very interesting people. They tend to be older than our on-campus, so they've got a lot of life experience, and they're very grounded in reality. So I enjoy them a lot.
That was a good point, yeah. My A usually doesn't let me have toys or anything. As not as a teacher, but actually just taking them a little bit of time about what, the offenders and the programs that we are running here. And probably before I get too started, I mean, it was just an amazing miracle, I think, that I had left Ely State Prison as the warden there when I came down to Florence McClure on a transfer. We were talking about the grant money and the T-Mobile and things that I wasn't very familiar with. And I was able to meet Dr. Minter, and we sat down and talked, and she wanted to know what kind of ideas that I had. I had been at the female facility a couple times before, and I'd always remembered that we didn't do a whole lot of programming for the females at the particular time. The Nevada Department of Corrections is a very small department. It has about 10,000 inmates. Female offender capacity, about 750 inmates at Florence McClure, and probably another 80 down to Gene Conservation Camp. So as we all know, dollars only go so far, so you're talking about, 10,000 versus within the 700 offenders that we have in there. And so it was really a struggle. We'd always talked about it throughout the years that we wish we could do something for the female offenders. And it was just, once again, it was just amazing that I ended up coming down here. And I'd always wanted to do something for the female population. And having me walking down my hallway facility, and Dr. Minter introduced herself, and she started asking me some certain questions about what I'd like to have seen, things that have been done here at the facility, and what goals I had and what I wanted to do, and the ideas that I had. And some of them were crazy, and I admit that. So she's like, yeah, we're gonna bring it back in a little bit, Director Gordon. So we're gonna sit back, and we just kind of got through some amazing things. And understandable that when Florence McClure had a cosmetology program at that particular time, and we had, what was it, an adoption, we had a dog program there, pups on parole and things like that. Since CSN got involved in, once again, just an amazing, amazing group of people. Quite a few of them are here with Dr. James, Dr. Minter, and my HVAC crew, wherever you guys are at. I mean, we've put an HVAC program together there, a culinary academy. We're getting ready to start a welding program, starting to do some of the things that we find as a term being felony friendly. I don't know if that's politically correct, but it's something that I have really enjoyed the last 2.5 years, well, leaving Ely, of course, for many reasons. But the energy is there. Everybody was talking about how particularly female offenders, amazed when they come, they love school. They would, even when the HVAC program first started, I mean, the HVAC instructors were like, oh my goodness, they're taking tests before, we haven't even got to chapter 4 yet, and we're on chapter 9 or 10. I mean, that's just the way they were motivating themselves, and it was great crew that the HVAC guys come in on board. And between, once again, Governor Lombardo throwing some of this track money or cash money or whatever you want to take a look at it to the female offenders. And definitely been very helpful. For some of you, I don't know if you know the director, Zarunda. He had been here a few years back and then left and then came back. Very glad he came back. I had a good relationship with him before. So he gave me an early parole out of Ely, so I was able to get out of there and go to Florence McClure. And it's just been very energetic. The offenders are very energetic. You know, people talk about some misconceptions about what we do or what we're educating females, and some of the things you have to do is have staff buy into, and it took a little while, Florence McClure. But some of the misconceptions are, you're just wasting money on this program, this is not doing this, is not doing that. And actually, you don't understand how much when an offender is in a program and how much responsibility they take upon themselves. And you start seeing the social, every time of self-esteem and things like that going on, socialization, the education, camaraderie, you'll start seeing a lot more of that now. And it's just, you know, it's free. I mean, the building's already paid for, and so is the air. So, I mean, we know they're getting this for the best, best information, the best dollar they can get. And it's been fantastic. And once again, I just want to, everybody who does these programs is amazing. I appreciate it. And CSN has been fantastic. And I don't want, well, I'll talk to you a little later about a story. But the thing is that I'm very appreciative. We are doing amazing things at Florence McClure. We've had newspaper articles. We're currently looking at a person wants to come over from the United Kingdom and do some type of documentary on some of the things we are doing as of us, we at Florence McClure. And once again, I've always talked about, this is not about me, this is about getting these offenders right. And I've always told them, my biggest goal is, I hope you leave here better than when you got in this place.
We were, Gordon, if I can interrupt, we were doing a town hall once.
Yes, he give me one of these things, I'm gonna
At
start.
JCC, Yeah. Thank you, Gordon. So, we're doing a town hall with a group around this big, one time at Gene Conservation Camp. And Ward Ruar's trying to instill some work ethic into him, and he said, look, and he said this very seriously, he's like, I need you guys to go to school so that you can get out and get a job, because I'm getting ready to retire and I need you to start paying Social Security.
It's all about me.
He said it with this was before I knew him as well as I did, and I'm like, man, he's got this dry sense of humor, and we'll get him wrong. But, yeah, he's ready to go deliver pizzas. That's what he tells them all the time. Like, put me out of a job.
Yeah.
Work the program so that I don't
Put
have
these
a
prisons
job
up.
and I have to go deliver pizzas for them.
Everybody's happy to see the pizza guy.
He's got a good rapport with them. That's something that we're really grateful for. Ward Rhubarb has held the door open for our program. It's not easy to bring things, HVAC, right, you're a prime example. It's not easy to bring things inside the prison, let alone a bunch of HVAC units, some bones, right?
Metals, screwdrivers.
Ward Rhubarb just held the door and kept it open. So what makes that a big deal is now that CSN has got all this stuff in there, we're established in there. We couldn't do that without the willingness of Ward Rhubarb to do that, so we thank him very much. I want to circle back to Dr. Taladine and to Spencer here. Dr. Taladine, what are some of the differences that you've noticed about students in the prison compared to students on campus?
That's a good question. The one thing that helped me go from prison to a PhD is someone having a genuine concern for me and the dialogue that we share. I take that into the classroom. I tell my students, whether in prison or CSN, 95% of your grade is to engage me. I don't need to know if you can write, I need to know if you can think. And like my colleague said, those in prison have some life experience, so they can bring a little more. And I think the students at CSN, either they're shy, insecure, not confident, I don't know if that has to do with the environment they come up out of, nobody's really asking them anything. So that's the difference. I mean, I noticed that the women at Florence McClure, because I joked with them, I said, I know you guys were talking on the street, now you don't wanna talk. You don't have anything to say. You know, you can't say the BS to me, that stuff doesn't work anymore, it's got to be constructive. So that's the difference, if I answer the question.
No right answers here. No wrong answers.
So I haven't taught at a formal campus yet, I'm doing that in like 2 weeks, but I have taught at the prison, and I've done trainings with just normal technicians and HVAC, and I'll say the students at the prison that I've taught blow away the students like that are trained technicians that are getting paid to, be taught. They are usually just uninterested, it's hard for them to focus. And like, I can't get the students at the prison to stop asking questions for me to move on to the next topic. Like, there's a big difference. I always hear comments like, why do they get free education when we have to pay for it? And I think that's a big reason why, because they actually like care about it and put effort in. Like, even, like I said, technicians that are paid to take classes don't take notes and just forget everything that they're told, so, yeah.
Thank you. I might actually take a stab at this as well. So I began teaching in the prisons, teaching in the college at CSN from 2015 until about 2022, when they asked me if I wanted to teach in prison. And I think they thought I was gonna say no, and I'm super excited, like, yeah, are you kidding me? I'd love to do that. I ended up teaching at Florence McClure as well as High Desert, and the first thing I noticed was how hungry they are. They pay attention to everything that you say. Like I was mentioned before, like you give them a book, they will read half that book in the first week because they got a lot of time, right? And I think probably what I love the most about prison ed students is they say what campus students only think. So when I'm teaching in class, like, there's, because it's just an environment where somebody said they're grounded in reality. They're very direct, sometimes too direct, but it is in a prison, and it's just kind of the way that they work, and I have a lot of respect for that. I'm also a very direct person, so I was able to really bond with them, and once they know that you're really on their side, they will do anything to work the program. And they know that not everybody wants to do what it is that y'all are doing in here, so they're very grateful for that. I really enjoyed my time, and I'll be coming back in the spring term. I'm really excited to go back to teaching as well. Thank you. Warden, you might have touched on this a little bit, but can you tell us specifically why you support the CSN Prison Education Program and describe the impact it has made within the Department of Corrections?
Well, I think first of all, I think a lot of people, well, most people don't understand. We start talking about programs and educating offenders and the things that we're looking at doing and fighting recidivism. But the biggest thing a lot of people don't understand is 90% of the inmates are coming out of prison. One day they're coming out. So a person, I've been with the state for 28 years. Christine and I we were probation officers together, and we can remember when you were discharged from prison, you got a $25 check and dropped off at Union Plaza. That was your gate money. So, you'd be surprised how many people didn't succeed. Because I've been one of them knuckleheads too with $25 in property, don't get me wrong. I mean, I probably would have done something crazy too, but that's just what the reality is. And the things we have to look at and the things that I try to look at when I talk to people about, what resources are being used and for what. Answer some certain questions. What do you want your neighbor to be like? Do you want somebody who's gonna make meth? Is he gonna climb in through your window all the time? Is he gonna do what he shouldn't be doing? Or is it somebody who's gonna go out and get a job and work and do something? And there's a lot of careers, Las Vegas, there's a lot of jobs, there's a lot of careers to do out here. And I think once you start getting into some situations like that where you can talk to somebody reasonably and let them understand this isn't waste. Money's not wasted. What the money we're spending on the program is nothing compared to what we can produce to somebody out on the street forever. I mean, we have the, buildings and trades, these unions are coming through. I mean, you can get, you get your union, whatever it takes to do that. And if you want to go somewhere else, a lot of these unions are working in different places in different states. I mean, you have all kinds of resources here. You have a program, you have union pay and you have dues, you have certain types of entitlements and benefits. It's all out there to be handed, and I think a lot of it, particularly for the women, when it comes to them understanding that they're able to do these things, and it's always been kind of a given that, so we have a cosmetology school at the prison, but they're starting to understand now they can do trade work. It's in demand. They can HVAC, they can do welding, they can do things like that. They can open up the window and do just about anything that anybody else can do. In fact, I seen them working during the school with HVAC, with my HVAC guy. I mean, I was amazed, like, yeah, I couldn't do that. I mean, I red wire, green wire, whatever, I'd be jacking with it all day. So I mean, it's just something that a lot of people just don't understand what we're really dealing with. And recidivism is a very important thing, and the programs and the education need to be done. And it's for you folks doing that. I mean, it's what's been great about it. When I met Dr. Mentor, one of the first things I told her, I said, you're the bright one. I'm just an old prison guard just trying to get by. But I told her, I said, if you can get the program to the front of my door, I'll get it in. And that was a deal that her and I made, and she's been very successful with it. And we got a lot more things to do. You're gonna see, I mean, just amazement of self-esteem building, socialization, just personalities changing. I mean, there's a picture up here, I wouldn't believe, in the top row, second one from left to right, Hispanic Nobles. Amazing what programs and her attitude and her self-esteem went through. We fought her every day when she came out. She was just a very angry person. Fought with her all the time. Just wouldn't let it go, and would drop a hat to fight. She just got herself right. She got through mental health counseling. She got through some programming, and now she graduated through the HVAC program.
This was our So our ceremony, that's May, right? Yeah, she was a student of mine as well, and I remember I had her for a full year. She was very angry, and she was so mad all the time. And you know, sociology is kind of triggering discipline. I think you guys have taken that. You know, we talk about a lot of systemic inequalities, and then they love the crime and deviance chapter, though. Let me tell you, like they love learning about themselves. But after a while, she started to more light in her. She's happier. You know, I couldn't tell you what all that is, Warden, you can speak to that better, but I had the same experience with her. I just all of a sudden, she was so much happier. She's over at JCC now, right?
Right, I saw, she was on a transfer run to Gene. I actually went out and talked to her. I said, I just amazed that you're going minimum custody.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have, 5 years ago, I would never would have, but.
And like you had mentioned, we put a little fact sheet in the back of the program. It's a good 95% of people who go to prison are going to get out.
Yes, they are.
So it is kind of a matter of who do you want your neighbor to be? The idea of kind of putting people in a room all day and having that be it is not really realistic. You know, I would say as human beings, it's meant to be the Department of Corrections for a reason. And I think just kind of bringing more public awareness to that, because if you lock them in their cells all day, that's when you start seeing the stuff that's like media worthy, where they start flooding their cells, they start, propelling and all this other terrible stuff, because you can't realistically keep somebody in a room all day. It just doesn't work that way. So they have various needs. There's lots of different areas that need addressed in the prison system, but we can only address one thing at a time, or our niche. We're not going to do reform overnight, but that's the purpose for a program like this. So because education is something that shows them another way. It's like 60% of people who go into the prisons don't have a high school diploma. Most of the people who are in prison come from poverty, right? So for my PhD, I studied criminology, so I'm aware of the population themselves. Huge overrepresentation of men, right? Men are like 93% of the prison population. So we're trying to address prison reform and create a difference. We look at who's the majority of who's in here, what is their issue. A lot of them need mental health. That's a whole other thing, yeah. So substance abuse is a pretty big one. And 1 in 5 people have a criminal record, right? So look around, right? And then there's also what we call the dark figure crime, and these are people who never got caught. And it's a very high number, right? That's something I like to kind of bring out into the open. It makes people go, because you know what I'm talking about. And so the idea of, just stigmatizing and, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to humanize people. We could have like an open conversation about what people go through, especially after COVID, and now that mental health is something that's really something people are talking about openly. We're here to start the conversation. Thank you, Warren. Let's ask another question for the instructors, any of you. Why do you think it's important for the students in prison to pursue a college education?
Can you repeat it? I'm sorry.
Why do you think it's important for students in prison to pursue a college education?
If you would have asked me, if I recommend college to everybody, I would probably say no. But, I do think college is a really useful tool, for somebody who, needs help, somebody who needs skills. I mean, college will teach you specific skills, and you might not even use those skills in the career that you get, but at least you've learned the skills to problem solve, and you've learned good habits, and you've at least learned that you can do it, that you can challenge yourself, and it pushes you. So yeah, I did go to college right out of high school, and I actually dropped out after the first semester and had a lot of debt after, so I would not recommend it for everybody. It was not a good choice for me. I went back into the trades and then went to school, and I would recommend that route, and it was super helpful for me, and I think it's super helpful if, for anybody who needs help getting out of where they're stuck in life, so.
Dr. Minter took my answer, so I have to emphasize that. I'm a high school dropout, and we're talking about the literacy level of those incarcerated. This is, I talk to those incarcerated, and I talk to those that may become incarcerated, and many people don't think they belong here. And I try and tell them they do. And and I'm not just saying this because my president's here. This is the coolest place that one could be in, especially as a young adult or anybody else engaging an idea for years. That's what education is about. And coming out this thing mentally healthy. I'm not knocking the vocational training. However, we have to set time aside to just think. I think a lot of people are doing well in life now, with the climate, but they still may not be thinking correctly. So we have to think, and I'm trying to show them that there's life on the other side of this thing with education. There are possibilities. And that's why I go up in there and just, hey man, we can do this thing. There are people that, when I say this, you might get it, there are people in here that may not survive in there, but those in there can really survive here. They can navigate this thing. I'm proof of it. Come in, keep your cool, but engage these professors. So that's why I'm in there.
I think the education is so important for them because, as we've been saying, it just expands their world. It shows them there's so much more out there. The students that we have are like all of us. People have an image of they're a prisoner. It's a regular class. They are a cross-section of everything. And if you took them out of their prison blues and put them in clothes, you probably couldn't pick them out of the crowd, most of them. In the education, it gives them self-esteem. I think it's really good, especially for our ladies, because most of them have kids, for them to get an education and show their children that they can do this. And a lot of the ladies in my class would talk about doing it for their kids, and their kids are proud of them for getting an education. And even if they don't come out with a degree, Dr. Minter's working on transitioning them here to the campus and really helping them. And last night at Southern Desert, a couple of my guys are getting ready to parole, and they're excited about what they can do when they come to the campus. And we all, not all of us, but most of us know just having a degree or some kind of education is often that little foot in the door, that thing that gets you a little bit ahead on that job application. And they were teaching them that, and they're understanding that. And like Dr. Talib was saying, there are some really smart people. There are some really smart people in there, and they're gonna benefit all of us if we can get them through an education.
Thank you. Warren, why do you think it's important for students in prison to pursue a college education?
Well, I think kind of goes back to working the program once you're inside the institution, you start picking up self-esteem issues like that. It's, being able to get up in the morning, taking care of the things you need to take care of. I think it kind of gets you ready for the out. And if you're in a program now and you're used to programming, you're used to reading the books, I'm not sure if most of you know, but Department of Corrections went to tablets recently. And we're starting to hopefully to format some of the programs in that for educational purposes. But I think once getting them on that schedule, and then once they hit the road and get out, I think just be able to shift to coming to CSN once you started something at Florence McClure. Just think the transition will be a lot smoother for them when they start inside. And once again, a lot of programming, you know, there's certain things that programming does inside an institution. It lowers violence. You start seeing better camaraderie. We talked about socialization and things like that. You'll start seeing female groups together, particularly at the female offenders, with the female offenders. And it starts seeing that development going before they're out on the street and they're trying to pick up some of that they've already learned. And I think it just makes the transition smoother.
Thank you, and this question's for all of you. Just generally speaking, what do you think is the biggest misconception about prison education or people in prison? Just the biggest public misconception based on your experience inside the prisons?
I think that they're all violent and that it's just fighting left and right and that they don't want to improve their lives, that prisons are scary environments to go into, that they're bad people. They're not. A lot of them just did something really stupid. There are bad people in prison, but there are people who are just there because of one snap, really bad decision. Where I teach, they're regular classrooms. You wouldn't know if you were in a prison or if you were upstairs here. They are well-stocked, regular classrooms. You're not in a unit with a bunch of people trying to listen in. It's very orderly. It's just like teaching students here. It's actually, as I'm looking out here, one of the benefits is they don't have cell phones. They pay attention, they're not on their cell phones. I think the misconception, if you're thinking about going to the prison to teach, I highly recommend it. I have never once felt scared, threatened, anything. It's very, very safe, and I enjoy it so much.
If I could just tap onto that, when Christina started, she's like, let me start in women's prison, because she wasn't quite sure, and a lot of people want to start there because they think, you know, and she was hooked. She went from the women's to the men's maximum security within 2 semesters, and she's been rolling ever since. I do want to say that we are in the classroom now. When COVID hit, we had to teach in the units. That's when I started, and let me tell you about the circus that is teaching in there. It was a lot. We did that at High Desert class in the prisons where you have people just walking around. Man, one time I walked right in there, and they looked at me like, "Who is this crazy white girl walking in here?" I'm serious, like. And then I thought, in hindsight, I was like, I probably shouldn't have done that. But you know, it's an interesting environment, you know, because it's very tightly controlled. I just did a tour of the jails lately, trying to see if we can bring the program into the jails. And I can honestly say the jails were much more scary. I was scared, and I don't get scared. I'm scared in jails compared to the prisons, and I'm not quite sure why. I guess because it's just
Closed in.
Yeah, the jail's very close together. But yeah. So bringing it back to Christina, she's really you've been in all the prisons now, right? You've taught all women's separate hospitals, right?
Yes.
We'll get you there.
Yeah.
Everybody else, what do you think is the biggest public misconception?
To think that someone said to me, if they knew anything, they wouldn't be in there. That was a very ignorant statement. And I had to show how ignorant they were. With that being said, though, that I tell anybody who's going into prison, go in there looking to learn, not to teach anything, because there's some smart people in there, you know, that humble yourself and go in there. But just that, these people, Bell Hooks said to me once, she said it to me personally, some people don't get time till they get time, and a lot of those men just were given time to really think. Sadly, some of it is, you know, what we call Buck Roger dates. But so just that they don't know anything. the brilliant people.
Yeah, some misconceptions, yeah, like I think the general public from the conversations I have with people, maybe what I had going in is just like, it's like a zoo in there and it's just chaotic and people are hooting and hollering and, yeah, when I walked in there, it's like, oh, this is it, like, just a hallway and some rooms here, like, and I talked to people about it and they're like, oh, you have a bathroom there? I'm like, yes, there's a bathroom. Like, I was just, you know, people don't have any idea. It's just like a foreign world. But yeah, it's like you said, it's a pretty normal environment. Once you're in there, yeah, everyone's in the same color and you have a badge. But you know, once you're talking to them, it's like a normal environment. And I mean, yeah, they don't have phones, which is great, but you also don't have the internet, so you have to make sure you're on everything and you can answer every question and you brought everything that you have all the files that you need. And but yeah, it's, yeah, there's some misconceptions for sure, just about their attitudes and like that they're leeches to society and they're just trying to get something out of the system and find a way to break out. Or and I haven't got that from any of my students that I've had. Like they all seem very eager to contribute and just be a part of cleaning up the lab when we're done. And like, yeah, it's not what I had imagined. It's not what I'm sure most people imagine. For sure.
Ward, biggest misconception?
Well, sometimes what's on television related to prisons isn't accurate. The orange is the new black, black is the new orange, whatever it's called. I don't know how many times I got asked questions about that, so. Yeah, I think a lot of people, well, once again, I mean, it's a closed environment. Not everybody has a lot of experience to know what prisons are like and what they're like indoors. And how inmates react and how offenders, because there is a difference at times between an inmate and an offender. I just really think that a lot of people inside that are incarcerated want to do good. I think they really want to. I think deep down they have a plan to do good. But then you have outside entities and things like that kind of bring the down to the down. But I think overall it's not as, certain institutions are violent. I mean, that's just the way it is, and the communities are violent too, and we try to do the best we can. But once again, I think the biggest misconception is just this is all just a waste of tax dollars to try to provide education to people. And I think that eventually, I think things are starting to loosen up a little bit in that area, the views of it. When I came down from Ely to Florence McClure, and I had town hall meetings with my officers because I'm an inmate lover. And I had to get through all that and you have to deal with even your own staff thinking that way, that they don't understand exactly what we're trying to do also. It took some time at Women's. It's a smaller population. There's only about 180 officers there, so it took a little bit. It didn't take as much time to convince the things we were wanting to do and why we were doing them. But it you know, you still get the warden's still an inmate lover and the warden's this and the warden's that. But once again, it's just, views are changing, and actually some of my staff have really changed in the last year about things. And we had a huge program with Dr. James a while back, and unofficially, I think I was only supposed to invite 50 people, but I think I invited like a couple hundred or whatever, but that's still our secret about. And all the officers that worked in that program volunteered their own time. They didn't ask for overtime, and they wanted to be part of what Dr. James was doing in the hospitality program. And that kind of made me think that it's changing. And I think it's changing in the community as a whole too. And I think somebody in this panel, 6 or 7% of people are locked up in this country. So I think somebody may have somebody incarcerated in their family or whatever. But I think it's changing, and I hope it still does change. And I think we're going in the right direction. But I think if we start seeing a lot of success, and the RJ was really recently with a couple of the events we did at Florence McClure. We talked about a documentary for the offenders, and I think when people start seeing that, it's not a waste. We're trying to build things better, and we're trying to make a product better. Like I said, my biggest goal is I hope they leave better than they came in. And I think I'm trying to do everything I can to do that. So, I've made some bad calls, but I think overall that, we're doing a very good job at Florence McClure. And if I may, just real quick, to speak of Florence McClure, this young lady sitting in front of me is Jessica. She is my admin assistant who really kind of runs the prison. So if you need anything from Jessica, she too does a lot of work, a lot of time of her own, a lot of volunteer time and things like that. But besides that, I once again, I appreciate everything that you folks have been doing. The CSN has been great, and I think that's all I got, Doc. That's all I got.
Thank you all so much. We'd like to give you guys an opportunity to ask any questions if you'd like. Eric?
I don't really have a question, but a comment. First, the ward has a wonderful personality. Great understanding of education, higher education. Thank you for what you do.
Thanks.
What all of you do. Because offenders that get out and they have an education, have an opportunity, they can go out and do jobs. And hopefully, there's gonna be some type of internship connection, because a lot of people won't hire people who are formerly incarcerated, even with an education. So hopefully, we're looking for some opportunities for them to get employers that will help them once they get out.
Yes, so to piggyback off of that, so every program that we bring into the prison education program, somebody mentioned it earlier, the oxymoron, the felon friendly. They're strategically chosen to make sure they can get a job with a felony, but also we have community partners that are part of the advisory boards that are willing to take a chance on them, if you will. So we only have a handful of programs that are listed in the program that I sent out to you. And so we do have those connections. We are looking to grow those community partner connections to help with connecting them to the workforce. So really good points. But being able to kind of spread the word, if you know some, we can always use more. Dr. Kravchuk.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Warden. I don't remember me, Richard Kravchuk, Unit of Arts and Letters.
Yes, sir.
And first of all, I want to congratulate you on the work that you're doing at Florence McClure. I had a fabulous time
Thank you.
with our tour, and there's just some really wonderful and important work. And so I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
The other question is, Warden, for you and also for our faculty. What can we, on the academic affairs side, do differently and better to promote our mission and make things even better than they are?
I couldn't think of anything right at now that we're knocking it off on all cylinders right now. We're really doing a good job. And for right now, I couldn't think of anything else. Actually, I guess one thing that kind of, for me, it kind of slows down our programs of women's is actually it's fighting space of a building. I mean, that's just where we're at now. And I think besides that, that's really the only obstacle I see through CSN and what we're doing. I think it's been great. It's been great. And once again, we're asking for volunteers to donate buildings and things like that. Florence McClure is a small facility. But that's just where we're at.
Send them to us too.
All right, but that's just where we're at within what we started in, 2024, 23? Yes, and now we're just running out of space. And I think my HVAC troops, I think you guys, half the time, they were teaching outside for a while too, to get things done, so. But I have nothing whatsoever what CSN has been giving me. It's been great, fantastic.
Anybody else? I would say additional staff, right? So we're saying because we have volunteers, which is fabulous, but if we had, because we're a fast growing program, so additional staff members to put inside the prisons to kind of take some of the load off of the prison work. So Miss Jessica here, it is not her job whatsoever to help with CSN. But she does this because she's the actual warden of the prison. Because she's completely out of her job description because she cares that much, and we're very grateful for that. We're very, very grateful for that, and so calling attention to the need for more staff, I would say.
I agree, yeah.
And then we do need a couple of, so many department chairs in here, Sean. We need a couple of, I won't call them out, but we need a couple more disciplines, like Dr. Kravchuk, you guys got us our fine arts, right, Ms. Romina? There's like 1 or 2 other classes we need to get that AA. So if you can talk to your instructors, your department chairs, say, hey, we got groups of students waiting to graduate, we need this one class. You wanna know what what that is, I'll have to figure out the best way to tell you so that I'm not being unprofessional. But, just spread it around. Tell them what you learned today. I would also, and then I'll get to Dr. Koda, I would also, somebody had mentioned earlier about the fact that we're giving them free college, right? So that's a big thing that comes up, like, why should we, these people are doing these horrible things, and why are we giving them free college, right? So the research shows, right, the research that I've done is we've tried what we call the punitive model of corrections. And so punitive model means that we make prison a terrible place. Terrible food, terrible treatment, right? And there's long-term data on that approach that shows that the recidivism numbers of the likelihood of coming back in, numbers are not changing with that. And when I say that to these girls up here in the class, they scoff. They're like, you give us your best shot. Like, we're coming back, they come back. So then they tried the rehabilitative model. Right, we'll give them 12 steps, we'll give them therapy, psychiatry, whatever, therapeutic. Numbers are still staying about the same. Part of what makes it difficult to address people in American prisons is because America is the most diverse population, or diverse country in the world. We have all cultures from everywhere in the prison, so being able to hit everybody in a way that makes sense to them is quite a challenge. So what do we have left? Comes right in the middle. Right, so we're not saying that punitive doesn't work at all, right? There's some terrible people in there, they deserve to be in there, and they should not come out, right? We do work with what's called level 1 inmates, which means that they have earned their way into our classroom, right? It's not about their offense, we do have all offense types, but they've earned their way because they're trying to make a difference. Level 1 means they're the least threatening. If they mess up, they get pulled from the class. They don't want to do that because the class is where they free their mind. And any time that I've seen in my role when they mess up, it's never in the class, it's always outside of the class. Never in the class. They love it in the class, they want to be there. So when you educate them, you show them another way. So the majority of them, again, coming from poverty. We have an overrepresentation of people of color. Now, if you were to just look at the data, the numbers, it's still mostly white people in prison because white people are still the majority of the population. But if you look at the rate, right, and these are just hypothetical numbers, I'll have to look at the recent data, but we'll say there's like 1 in 3 white people in prison. There's like 1 in 8 black people in prison. Or I'm sorry, 8 in 10, excuse me. 3 in 10 white people, 8 in 10 black people. The rate is what the difference is, black and brown. So that's an issue, right? So as sociologists, this is the stuff that we look at. There's systemic problems, there's all kinds of issues. So a long-winded way of coming in to say, free college, right, addresses systemic oppression, racism, sexism, classism, saves tax dollars, right? We've tried it the other way. We tried the rehabilitative, and it's not to say that we still don't do that because trust me, they need rehabilitative. They need these 12 steps. Some of them, I don't know how well the punitive model works, but they're human beings at the end of the day. Most of them are traumatized to the bone, and that's why they react the way that they do. So again, bringing back that mental health conversation. So it's more like an investment because again, they're gonna get out. We can spend $5 in tax dollars to put them in there, or we can spend $1 in education to educate them and build a healthier society. Dr. Coder.
Yeah, so, well, first of all, yeah, I agree with what the warden was saying. I mean, I definitely see this moving all cylinders. I taught in the program in its first rendition in the 2000s, and where you are right now is amazing. I mean, but what we were lacking was really the partnership that we had, and leadership from the Department of Corrections and leadership here at CSN to really take this to the next level. But then the commitment by the faculty, because I remember that it was difficult, very difficult. I mean, it's still a challenge, I'm sure, but the commitment that it takes to teach it, and drive and get out there, but it's growing. So my question is going to be, what's next? What will be the next rendition as things are changing? There's more acknowledgement of the need for prison education. We're growing, but where do you see this heading?
It's a great question, and I'm gonna pick your brain later with where we came from, absolutely. So, I would say that the last 2 years, as I speak to the time that I've been in this role, we got a solid foundation in this program. Everybody is where they need to be. We have the programs, we have the vetting, we have them aligned with the program review committee with NDOC, we select the right students, we put them in the right direction. Since then, everybody's been going to school. So they're starting to trickle out, like these ladies. Like that's the kind of, think of it as like a stage of development of where this program is. I like to say we're in our toddlerhood, but we're gonna start creating this as a pipeline of people coming out. So they all come out at different times, they have different release dates, but that's also part of how we select the students is based on their release dates, depending on the program. That's a conversation for a whole nother topic, but essentially we're ready for them when they get out, and we enroll new students all the time. So we expect more ceremonies. We're having 2 ceremonies this fall. We're probably gonna have ceremonies like continue to increase. We have more eyes on this because there's something about Las Vegas as well, you know, not because of being like the Australia of the United States, but there's a lot of support for programs like this, and in Nevada in particular, because we're kind of like the outlaw state. We're very thankful for that. So I do anticipate, the support is just astronomical. I know there's the sort of anti-supporters, and that's where I come in with the explanation of why we're giving free college. You know, pick my brain anytime, you know, we can talk about that. But I expect more of that. We're growing in programs. We're gonna build a welding program from the ground up. We have a concrete slab that we're working with. And we have a grant that we're hoping is gonna cover most of it. If not, there's potential donors to start to, you know, collect attention. The tablets were a little bit of a disappointment. We thought we were gonna have some electronic access here, but there's some issues with the tablets. That's again, something that would take a lot to go into, but we're pivoting, and instead we're looking into what else can we bring in on the ground floor. That's kind of what's in store for now. Seeing if we can bring it into the jails. That's probably within the next year where it's gonna go. Evelyn.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. I'm Evelyn Pacheco. I am the first Black woman to get a plumber's license in the state of Nevada. And I am an Army veteran, and
Air Force.
okay. I'm the owner of Nevada Women in Trades. So I have my Nevada Women in Trades, but also we were part of and helped with the survey that went out to all the women, Florence, Jean, and Casa Grande. And the survey was the interest in trades. I've been working with Dr. Winter and others, and because I did a bill in the 82nd legislation, and it was to do a mandate for women to get into trades, because they keep saying this kind of. So the bill got vetoed by Lombardo and said women aren't interested in trades. So I was like, okay, yeah, I got upset, yes I did, but you gotta figure it out, right? You can't just drop right there. So then I said, gosh, I need to do something else. So I was talking to Emily, she says, well, we should do a survey. I said, you know, you're right. So we did the survey, and the survey went out to 700 women and came back of 438 came back of the surveys, and 97% said they were interested in the trade. So, I just want to say.
Thank you. Celine.
Since you called me out earlier anyway, I teach sociology at UNLV, so there's some preliminary talk at least about some connections there for students and this program. So for people like me and others who may be interested in teaching this program, what's the best advice you can give for how we can better serve the I know there's slightly different populations, but what do you think we could best do to help these students?
Thank you, and thank you for bringing, thank you. Part of the vision also, Dr. Koga, ties into this, I completely forgot. We want to build a pipeline to UNLV. We want our program to look like the state of New York. You guys have seen prison education programs in New York, they're getting doctorates degrees. We're not able to do that without partnerships with UNLV. So I went to UNLV, Celine and I went to school together, and so I luckily have some contacts there who were faculty at the time, and now we're at the dean level and whatnot. So I've started conversations with them. In order for that to happen, UNLV has to commit to a full bachelor's degree, so that we can basically take our associate's degree graduates, which we intend to have come out very soon, within the next year. I'm looking for a place to put them, so we're trying to talk to UNLV and see if we can do that to build it up to the doctorate level. And then as far as getting involved, we would really, at this point, think of it as like the state of Nevada, there's 2 other prison ed programs up north as well. We all work as a team. They work in Carson City area and Great Basin College, so we all work within the MSHE system. So they're trying to get UNLR on board. We're trying to get UNLV on board. But right now, prison education in the state of Nevada is up to the associate's degree level and the skilled certificates, which can go much, much higher. So at this point, to get involved in the program, you would have to be hired at CSN.
I'm
And
available.
And the department chairs would have to recommend you to us to teach for our program. If we are able to get UNLV on board, it's a whole new ballgame. But then there's the issue of space, so there's a lot that's gonna go into that. That's definitely the long-term vision.
And we're going to talk more with all of you, so, thank you.
Hello, Ms. Ruth.
How are you, Dr. Minter?
Hello, ma'am.
So, I only have at this point anecdotal data. It's been a while since I've been digging into this particular data point, but recidivism in the state of Nevada, and therefore the impact of prison programs in the state of Nevada, that is clouded a little bit because of connections to individuals in Utah, Arizona, California. And so sometimes, even though we're seeing these stories of impact, the harder numbers of impact, and funding follows impact, right? So those numbers end up being clouded or being counted, especially with California. So there's like a lot of support for prison education programs in California, and you said the state of New York was another example. But I'd like to hear the panel's ideas on like how we can sort of address that sort of wobbly, I'll just use the technical, wobbly data point of recidivism.
So,
Well, I don't fully understand the, what is the cloudiness or?
Okay, so, sometimes what'll happen is someone will have a California, record, come to Nevada, some of the work happens here, there's no recidivism here, they were released, they go back to California, and their success is counted as a California success. And again, that's merely anecdotal, but it's one of the things that I've been coming up against in terms of like trying to describe the landscape of prison education in the state of Nevada in comparison to what's going on in other states.
yeah, I think the recidivism data itself is everywhere. It depends on a lot of the state that you're in, the jurisdiction you're in, the side of the country that you're in. It can be different in 4 different parts of the state, so it's definitely very muddy as is. They try to average them. I would say that for the state of Nevada, we're starting to build that data. So again, that sort of stage of development, somewhat being in the toddlerhood, because we've really kind of had this foundation for the last 2 years, like real solid foundation ready to go. So I would say we're building that data and to stay tuned. I think we're at about time. Is there any other question? I'm sorry.
Can I say something? I think something you said about how can we combat the recidivism. Mark Twain said, "Don't let your schooling get in the way of your education." I talked to the ladies a lot and the men. You know, when they come out of prison after 10, 15, 20, 30 years, they're expected to be, if it's a woman, a mother, or a wife. If it's a man, a father, or a husband. And that may not really be where their head is. I mean, I think going to prison is a symptom of a bigger problem. And we have to really engage the problem, maybe even while they're in or when they get out. They have to have time to adjust. Because if you say, now it's time to be a father, you have to start providing, and the jobs aren't there. I mean, even if there's a job, they're going to provide. I know some people that say, I'd rather go back in. You know, I know it. I'd rather commit a crime. I mean, you know, sad. So I think we have to go in there with a genuine concern to help. And that may not be what you think is help, you know.
Yeah.
what can I do to really make your life? These people can, when I say these people, they know when you're sincere.
Yeah.
You know, they know when you just playing or you here just to get a check, you know, but that, I think that's, they need, even though they had time, it takes more time. And that's the things we don't talk about. A friend of mine got out, he was my student when he was in, he's here now at CSN, working on his associates. He got out and the world, he was confronted with some things, ready to go back. And he said, man, how would you stay out? I said, now I'm gonna see if you're a gangster. See, this ain't a gangster. This is a gangster. You know, so we have to learn to really redefine words that they understand.
We're actually saying the same thing because I guess to give you the context, at the level at which I serve at CSN, what I have to do is translate at a very, very, very high data level with like hundreds and hundreds of numbers, the stories that you are sitting and telling me now. I have to get them so that they're captured, right? And then what usually, when I get up to that level is, well, that's happening in California, right? And so panels like this are really useful for me because then I'm able to sit with you and I absolutely know, I have had the honor of hearing some of these stories themselves from inmates themselves in, you know, volunteer work that I do, right? But how do I get that to a level where somebody's going, yeah, actually it's the prison education program in California that's helping 9 out of 10, you know, and I'm like, I need the proof to show that actually 8 of those 10 are out of Nevada, right? So that's, I don't know if that it was like a better way to frame the question.
Yeah, in regards to recidivism and the misconceptions that we were talking about earlier, a really common one that I actually grew up with and I still hear is like, if they're in prison, they must want to be there, or if they're homeless, they must want to be homeless. Like if they're, you know, if you want to be rich, you can be. And that, you know, that's not true, and that's definitely not what I see in the students in the prison. They don't want to be there. That's not what they say, and that's not how they act. It's just that they don't know how to get out of there. They don't have the tools, and they don't know how to get the tools. And I think that's what we're doing, hopefully, is showing them and how, you know, how to help themselves and giving them the tools. And, you know, hopefully that can give them a better future, and that's what it seems like they want to do. They want a better future for themselves and for their family and their community. It's not like what people say. They don't want to leech, and they don't, you know, and hopefully this helps them have a better life, helps my kids have a better future, and, you know, their kids, and so on and so forth.
Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you guys for your free time today. I wanted to let you know that we're giving all of you 2 tickets each to a concert of your choice in the House of Blues by an anonymous donor.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for being here and supporting our first panel.